to Jenny's Commerce Land Business Studies Unit 2. Before we start, do not forget to subscribe my channel. Hello all to Jenny's Commerce Land Business Studies Unit 2. Before we start, do not forget to subscribe my channel. So last video, we have seen part B, first chapter, that is Unit 9, Financial Management. In today's video, we're going to see something about part A, and we're going to focus on Unit 2. So Unit 2 is nothing but about management and the principles of management. So today we will be seeing what is the principles of management. As we have already seen what is management in our first video. So whoever has missed that video can please visit the first video to get the meaning of management. So in short, management is nothing but getting our works done with the aim of achieving goal effectively and efficiently. So now we'll see and we'll focus more on the principles of management. Management principles. Before we understand what is management principles, let's concentrate on some terms. First one is principle. Principle is nothing but it refers to a statement which reflects the fundamental truth about one phenomenon based on a cause and effect relationship. So the principle is not a statement that has just been made, or it is nothing but not an assumption, but it is based on some fundamental truth, and it is on a phenomenon. Phenomenon means some process, and it has a cause and effect relationship. So when there is a cause, there is also an effect. Like we say in accounts, when there is a debit, there is a credit. Same way, if we are planning, organizing, staffing, and directing and controlling, we are concentrating on the functions of management, we will ultimately attain our goal. So this is nothing but the cause and effect relationship. Next is management principles. Now, what is management principles? The fundamental truths that are there to serve the purpose of management is nothing but the management principles. It helps in decision, actions, and their managerial decisions, actions, and their executions. So the principles that were formulated for the efficient management is nothing but the management principles. Now the third is derivation of management principles. Now from where has these management principles been derived? That is nothing but the deep observation as well as repeated experimentation. So a group of people is taken and they are observed. How is their nature? What are they doing? Are they taking a lot of break? Are they concentrating on the quality of the product, or just they are concentrating on the quantity of the product? So there are various factors for the observation, and the people are divided, or the laborers are divided into various groups, and they are being observed. And based on that, what happens? Some findings are made and some conclusions are made. And after that, what happens? If the purpose for which we have studied has not happened, there can be the repetition of the experiment as well. Now next, we'll see the nature of principles of management. Now we saw that the principles of management are based on the fundamental truth and everything, but it has some natures as well. So the first one is, it is universal applicability. So we saw that it is a fundamental truth. So it can be applied universally. Universally means now what? Over here we are talking about the management. Universally means it can be used across all industries, be it a small industry or a big industry, whatever it may be, but this application of principle can be made. So it is the universal applicability. This is first nature. Now the second one is general guidelines. So these act as a guideline for the efficient functioning of the management. So that is nothing but general guidelines. Next, formed by the practice and experimentation. So this is not formed on assumptions or so, but we have to practice this. We have to practice, that is, we have to observe the target group, and then we do the experimentation, and finally we come out with some findings and conclusions. So that is nothing but the formed by practice and experiments. Next, the fourth one is it is flexible. So we have, if we notice that the business environment is always changing, the external environment, the internal environment, due to various technological changes and the change in the society, the management or the business functioning also, or the way the business functions also changes. So the principles should be formulated in such a way that it should be flexible. That is, it can be modified when and how and when the changes happen. So that is nothing but flexibility. Next, mainly behavioral. So the management principles are mainly based out of the behavior of a, be it a leadership, be it an employee or so. So uh, mainly we study on the employee. So majorly it is for the guidance and influence of the behavior of an employee. So this is mainly based out of behavior. Next, it has a cause and effect relation. Management principles are based on cause and effect. That means that these principles tell us if a particular when a particular principle is applied in a situation, what is the outcome. So it tells us about the cause and the effect as well. So it has a cause and effect relationship. Next, contingent. What is contingent? That means the management principles are contingent or dependent upon the situations prevailing in the organization. So it is based, or it is always dependent on the situations that is being in the industry. So that is nothing but a contingent. Next, if we see, the next point is, so we saw the nature. Now we need to know why this principles of management is important. It provides the manager with an insight into reality. So it provides a insight into reality. Next, optimum utilization of resources. So this principles of management helps in optimum utilization of resources. It avoids the wastage of resources. Next, we can take scientific decisions. That is based on some fundamental truths we will be taking the decisions. It is not on trial and error basis. Next, the meeting changing environment requirements. So it means the changing environments, that is a business environment changes also. If we follow these principles of management, it is flexible. So we can meet the changing environment requirement as well. Next, fulfilling the social responsibility. So if we are following these principles of management, we can serve many social responsibility of a business as well. Next point is management training, education and research. So the principles of management aids to management training, education as well as the research. Now, this is we saw the nature, we saw the significance, we saw what is principles of management. So there were some characters, or there were some people who had made this principle of management, or we can say derived this principle of management. So the first person is Henry Fayol. If we say about Henry Fayol was a person who was born in France in 1841, and he got a degree in mining engineering in 1860, and he started to work as an engineer in a coal mining company. In 1888, he was promoted as the managing director of the company. At that time, the company was in a situation of insolvency. He accepted the challenge and applied his managerial techniques to bring out the company from this situation, and he succeeded. So he had done some experimentation, and that experimentation worked out. When he retired after the 30 years, the company was leading a leading coal steel company with a strong financial background. From the state of insolvency, Mr. Henry Fayol could say. So out of that, he had derived some principles of management, and today we are going to see about the principles he had developed. First, he said that there are mainly six principles that were developed by Henry Fayol. So the first one was principle of division of work. So Mr. Fayol's emphasis that there must be a division of work. So every work should be divided into various departments, and it should be given into small slots and divided among small groups. So then the work can be done efficiently and effectively. Next, he says the principle of authority and responsibility. So he says it is a hierarchy of that the power is from the top to the low. There is a hierarchy, and it should flow in the similar manner. So there is one authority, that is a person who is there to lead, and some people who is there to fulfill the instructions that has been given by the authority. So that is nothing but the principle of authority and responsibility. Next, he emphasized on the principle of discipline. He said there must be a discipline in the organization. It must be organized. It must have some etiquettes. Then only it can succeed as an organization. Next, principle of unity of command. So he says there must be a unity in command. That is, one person must follow only one manager's voice at a time. It must not be that there is a mixture of so many advices and many things from various people that are coming in. Some two or three managers are directing one person and he's just confused. So it should not happen. There must be a unit of command. Then the unity of direction. The whole organization must flow or go in the same direction. It must be towards the attainment of the same common goal. It must not be that some persons are focusing on some other thing, some other are focusing on some other thing. So there must be a unity of direction. Next, subordination of individual interest to general interest. So there must be a coordination of common goal and the company's goal. So how this can happen and how we can coordinate between these both. So this is also one of the principles. So subordination of individual interest to general interest. So how one can try to achieve the common goal, and through that how he achieves his individual interest. So we must also concentrate on that way by motivating them, by giving them some fringes or something, so the company's goal is fulfilled over there in a faster way, and as a result what happened, the individual is also motivated by the fringe benefits he receives and he's also satisfied. So these are the 6 principles that were developed by Henry Fayol. Next, he says, so that there was the 6 things that we saw about him, but there are total 14 principles that were developed by Henry Fayol. So the rest are remuneration of employees. So Henry Fayol emphasizes on the remuneration. What is remuneration? That is nothing but the salary, the wages that the employees receive. So he says if they receive their employees, if they receive their wages or salary in the correct time, what happens? They can be, they can be motivated and they will work hard for the organization as well. So that's why he had emphasized on remuneration. Remuneration is nothing but the salary or the wages. Next, he said about centralization and decentralization. As I said in the previous point, he emphasized on what he said, that there must be some central, that is a particular division, the top branch, and then what should be there? It should be divided into various other divisions as well. That is nothing but the decentralization. That is breaking down of the authorities. So that is nothing but decentralization. So there is one particular, suppose there is a purchase department, and under that purchase department there is various other divisions. So that is nothing but decentralization. Next is a scalar chain. So this is also one thing that Mr. Henry Fayol had emphasized on. So there must be a chain of the employees. It should not be like everyone is focusing on different things. There should be a chain of, there should be a scalar chain. So everything should happen in a chain. So everyone should be coordinated with each other. Fayol on his principle highlights that the hierarchy steps should be from the top to the lowest, and this is necessary that every employee know their immediate senior. So there is a chain and everyone is coordinated to each other, and one must know who is his immediate senior, and they should also be able to contact that particular person. Next, he says the order. What is order? Company must be maintained in a well-defined work culture. So it must be a favorable work culture, and it is also should be well defined. The positive atmosphere in the workplace will boost more positive productivity. Next, he emphasized on equity. What is now equity? Equity means equality. All employees should be treated equally and respectfully. It's the responsibility of a person that that no employees face discrimination. So nobody should be discriminated on the basis of some color or sex or say some race or so. Everyone should be treated in an equal manner. Next, he says about the stability. An employer delivers the best if they feel that the job is secured. So there should be a stability or the feeling of job security that must be given to the employees. Next is initiative. The management should support and encourage the employees to take initiatives in the organization. It will help them to increase their interest and make them work. So the management should take an initiative to motivate the employees. Then only they will feel that I'm at a great place, I'm working at a great place, and they will help in increasing the net worth of the organization. The last one is nothing but Esprit de Corps. It means that it is a responsibility. Again, it says about a teamwork or a team spirit. So the motivation of the employees and be supportive of each other regularly. So this is nothing but a teamwork. He emphasized on teamwork by Esprit de Corps. Developing trust and mutual understanding will lead to a positive outcome and a work environment. So he says that there must be a positive environment in the organization, and for that what we should have the teamwork, or we should have a team bonding with every members of the organization. So he has very much emphasized on these 14 principles. These were the principles on the basis of which Mr. Fayol had took his company to a higher level. Next, we'll see scientific management. Now, these were the Fayol's management, and now there is something when the applied science or the application of science, when it is an element of the management, how it will be. So that is nothing but the scientific management. It can be defined as application science for each and every elements of management. So whenever there is an element of management, the application of science is being made, and it is nothing but the scientific management. Now there is a person, F.W. Taylor, Frederick Winslow Taylor, who is known as the father of scientific management. And according to him, what does he say? Scientific management means knowing exactly what you want men to do and seeing what they do it in the best and cheapest way. So he says that scientific management is nothing but knowing very well your work, and as well as seeing to it that the employees are doing it in a best and the cheapest way. So that he is the father of scientific management. His name is F.W. Taylor. Now we'll see something about scientific principles of management. So he has jotted down four principles of management. That is the scientific principles of management, and they are nothing but science, not the rule of thumb. The first one is science, not the rule of thumb. This rule focuses on increasing the efficiency of the organization. He says this is not a trial and error method, but it should be according to a strong finding that had been there. So science is not a rule of thumb. This is not working. Okay, next. This is not working. Okay, next. So it should not be that. It should be based on a strong finding, and this will help in saving time and also human energy. So that's why he is emphasizing on science. The decision should be based on scientific analysis and the cost and effect relationships rather than the rule of thumb, where the decision is not taken according to the manager's personal judgment. So this helps in saving time and energy, and therefore the employees feel that the works are getting over in a faster way and they feel motivated. Next, harmony, not discord. So Taylor indicates and believes that the relation between workers and the management should be cordial. that there should be a unity or a harmony amongst themselves. It should not be that the difference between the two will never be beneficial to either side. So if there is a difference between the management and the employees, everyone, they both will not go in one flow. So therefore, harmony is very much important in a workplace. Next is mental revolution or cooperation, not individualism. So what is cooperation, not individualism? Again, he's focusing on the harmony in an organization. He says that everyone should cooperate and there should be a mutual collaboration between the workers and the management. Managers and the workers should have a mutual cooperation and confidence and a sense of goodwill. The main purpose is to substitute the internal competition with cooperation. So the internal competition or the politics that can be there will get eliminated with this mutual collaboration. That is nothing but the cooperation, not individualism. Next is nothing but next point is development of every person to his greatest efficiency. So there should be a development at an individual growth, or we can say an individual growth also. It can improve the efficiency of the person. The effectiveness of a company also relies on the abilities and skills of its employees. Thus, implementing training, learning best practices and technology is a scientific approach to brush up the individual skills. To assure that training is given to the right employee, the right step should be taken at the time of selection and recruiting candidates based on scientific selection. So he says that the skill of the employee should be always focused upon, and this will only help in working in a better manner. So the next slide is scientific techniques of Taylor. Now he has also said about certain scientific techniques. So what is the first one? It is nothing but functional foremanship. So over here in this technique, Taylor suggested the division of factory into two parts. That is, he has said that when we are focusing on the function, and he has divided that function into two parts. What are that parts? First one is planning department, and the second, and under that there is a route clerk, there is an instruction card clerk, and there is a time and cost clerk, and what else? There is a disciplinarian. So what is this route clerk? So this is the route in which has to be followed. So in under this, what will happen? There is a route, and what happens? The person in charge of deciding a day's work and is also responsible for ensuring the work sequence. So route means the way the work should go. So the person who is managing that is nothing but a route clerk. So in the planning department, there should be a route clerk. Secondly, there should be an instruction clerk, that he is accountable for preparing instruction cards containing information pertaining to the kind of work, procedures to apply, and equipment and raw material to be used. Subsequently, the data compiled is handed to a gang boss. So he is nothing but a person who is giving the instruction on how a work can be carried out. Next is a time and cost clerk. This clerk is mostly responsible for deciding the entire time frame of the designated work. Also, the cost of producing a product is decided by them. So this clerk is appointed to find out the time that is required in doing a work, and he also determines the cost of the work. So that is nothing but time and cost clerk. And the last is disciplinarian or discipline officer. Now what does this guy do? This officer ensures that the delegated tasks are performed in a disciplined manner. So there is a discipline in the manner that the task has been delegated. Delegated means assigned to. Suppose a manager is there, he gets a target, he's delegating it to his subordinates. That is, he's assigning it to its subordinates. So while assigning, there should be a discipline, or the code of conduct should be followed. It should not be like a person is overburdened with something and some favorable person of the manager is sitting over there and he's having a chit chat and a good time in the company. So everything, discipline matters in the while assigning the work. Now the second one is the operational department. Now what is this operational department? As the name itself suggests, it is where the real work is done. The first department was just planning the work. Now, while execution is there, it is the operational department. Under that, he has divided it into four. That is a gang boss. What is a gang boss? He or she serves as the leader of the workers or a gang of workers. A gang boss is mostly responsible for ensuring that the equipments and the workers are suitable for producing the required unit of products. So it is nothing but a manager kind. So he is a boss or he is a leader of the gang of the workers, and he ensures that the things that are required for the production is there and the workers is also capable of doing that work. It is under his supervision to check if the raw materials have been made available to the workers. So he also checks into it that the workers raw material that is required to produce a product is also available. Next is nothing but the next point is the speed boss. Now, what is the speed boss? His or her primary task is to make sure that the workers are on par with the work schedule. So there is a particular time that has been assigned by the time and the cost club, and the speed boss checks whether the employee is able to produce it in the schedule that is being provided to him. Next is the repair boss. He or she is responsible for keeping all the equipments in a good working condition and solves the problems pertaining to that promptly. So the repair boss has to always check whether the machines are working, are up to mark, where the tools are all available, and how is it in a good condition or not. So this is a main job of a repair boss. So if there is any problem, he should promptly solve it as well. Next is a inspector. What is an inspector? An inspector checks the quality of the goods produced and compares them with the standard quality. So when the products are finally produced, he compares it with the standard quality and checks that if the products are up to mark. He is none other than the inspector. Also, an inspector has a power to initiate corrective measures if there is a lag in the quality. So if there is any lag, that is the standard and the original product's quality is differencing, or there is any difference between them, then he checks why this difference has come into and tries to minimize those differences. So this is the first point, that is the functional foremanship. Under that, there are two departments and we saw them in detail. Coming to the next one, standardization and simplification of work. Now he emphasizes on the standardization. There must be a standard which is maintained right from the selection of tools, equipments, and the machines to be used. And the work also should be simplified. That is, it should be broken down into small tasks so that the work can be done in a faster way. Next is simplification, emphasizes on elimination of unnecessary diversity of product size and time. So it is a simple. It should not be that many diversities are coming in and it is becoming complicated. Next one is fatigue study. This technique of scientific management is conducted to find out the frequency of the rest interval, the duration of the rest interval, and the number of rest intervals. So this is nothing but the study of how much rest or how much break a person is taking while he is at the work. So that is the study of fatigue. So there is a frequency in which the rest intervals are there, their duration, and the number of rest intervals that has been taken by an employee. Next is method study. It tends to help the producers to pick the most suitable method. So this studies about various methods and picks up the best method or way of performing the job. That is nothing but the method study. Next, it is the time study. So the objective of the time study are the standard time that is required to perform a job, setting up the standard target of the workers. Next, it determines the number of workers who is required to perform the job and categorizing the workers into efficient and inefficient employees. So that first of all, it sets a time, then it sets a target, and then it determines the workers who are capable of, and finally it categorizes into efficient and inefficient. So this is the objective of the time study. Next one is the motion study. It is concerned with the analysis of movements of the workers and the machines through the course of production. So how many times the observes that average worker, and when he is performing the job and notes down the movements, how many times he is moving here and there. So the study of that motion or the movement of the worker is the motion study. Next one is the differential piece wage system. This technique emphasizes on paying different rate of wage for efficient and inefficient employees. So as per the work that they are conducting, what happens, the wages also differs. Suppose a person is producing 8 products and it is a quality product and it is at a quality time, then what happens? The efficiency of the employee is more rather than somebody who is performing only or producing a less amount of product at the scheduled time. So efficient and inefficient people should be paid in different ways. That is what is the differential piece wage system. Next one is the mental revolution. The objective of the mental revolution are the cooperation between the workers and management, the change in mental attitudes of the worker and the management towards each other. So first of all, there must be a cooperation between the worker and the management, workers and the management, and the mental attitude, that is the way of looking upon a worker or way of looking upon the management should be changed. It should be a collaborative way or a friendly environment that must be created in the organization. So yes, we have come to the end of the video. So thank you for the patient listening. And if any questions are there, please do not hesitate to put it in the drop box. So I will be always happy to solve it for you all. So I hope this video is really important. This is an important aspect from your CBSE board exam point of view. And I hope this video has helped you in a good manner. So yes, soon I'll be coming up with a new video. Till then, all the best. Prepare well for your exam.